Greetings, Rothlings, and welcome to SpaceWeek Live for April 19th, 2020. Here we are, sitting together in our homes, tablet-sized raw space. And there is some stuff going on, finally. Despite everything that's happening in the world, we've made some progress in the last week. We've got a new crew up to the ISS. We've got an old crew down. We've got a SpaceX launch coming up, and a big announcement regarding commercial crew, which we'll get into in a bit. So, yeah, I'd like to point out that I've got my Donald shirt on, not my president shirt, but my Donald doesn't wear pants shirt. I am not a fan of Disney, but I am a fan of Donald. His personality matches mine quite well. So, let me go ahead and switch to the browser view so I can show you some video. Look at that. I got small. Okay. So, on, what was it, the 9th, this was 10 days ago, actually, little further than a week, but a new crew of 3 astronauts and cosmonauts, Cassidy, Ivanishин, and Wagner, launched up to the ISS, and they arrived with no problem. So, that was the Expedition 63 crew. And then a few days later, on the 16th, Jessica Meir, Oleg Skripochka, and Drew Morgan said their farewells and prepared to return to Earth from the ISS on their Soyuz, what was it, MS-15, I think? Oleg and Jessica had been up there for 6 months, Drew for about 9 months. And then this is footage of their Soyuz module departing the ISS, floating over the clouds. Well, high over the clouds. The clouds are just in the background, of course. So, of course, what happens is the Soyuz detaches from the ISS, undocks, as they say, and then after the deorbit burn, let's see if I can point to it here. Can you see my mouse? You sure can. Whoa, they're moving on me. Okay, it disappeared. There it is. Hold on, there we are. So the service module, or whatever this section is called, I need to look that up, detaches, and so that just contains junk and other things with the solar arrays. And then, let's go back. The crew is in this small module right here, which is what descends through the atmosphere and brings them down safely on parachutes for a soft landing with retro thrusters, with a short retro thrust burst. So this is Jessica Meir chilling on the Kazakhstan steppes after they safely landed. The landing was a little weird because the capsule got dragged over on its side by the parachute, so it was still a fairly soft landing, and they're all fine. But they did end up on their side, which I'm sure felt a little irritating until they were able to be extracted, because the extraction process always takes a little bit of time, longer than, you don't just land and then pop out, ready to go. I mean, it takes them maybe an hour to get them out of the out of the Soyuz. So there's a lot of patience involved with being an astronaut. So this isn't exactly news, but I always find it interesting when a famous personality. So they do ISS. NASA hosts ISS interviews, or hosts interviews with the astronauts on the ISS regularly, like very frequently, usually with schools and universities and organizations and things like that, but sometimes with celebrities. And a few days ago, Stephen Colbert had an interview with Jessica Meir on the space station, which was a little awkward, but Stephen Colbert is a pretty entertaining guy. But in any case, here's a snippet from that. Let's see if you can hear it.
Now, as you said, you have to be good roommates together. Do you have any advice on how not to annoy the people that you're trapped alone with for months on end?
Yeah, we even have a buzzword for that at NASA, and it's called expeditionary skills. And this is something that is very important in terms of how we select astronauts and how we train them as well. And there are a lot of key elements to that. First of all, in terms of teamwork, there's good leadership and good followership, of course, effective communication strategies, taking care of yourself and all of your equipment and supplies. That can be quite a challenge up here when things are floating around and you're using all the surfaces around you. And also being a good team player, taking care of each other. I like to think of it of all the things that parents tell their children, how to play nicely with others, or also the kind of people that I would want to go camping with. All of those features are really important, and I think it's a great thing to know that that's how we select our astronauts these days. Because we have all of these long duration missions, we actually don't just pick someone who's the top of their field or the ace jet pilot. If they're also not a good person and someone you like to be around, somebody that makes the stay a little bit more pleasant, then you actually won't get selected to be an astronaut anymore, which makes us a better team and makes it a lot more fun up here.
So there you go. So in the chat, Suarez71 asked if there's a meteor shower tonight. So looking at here, let me just take you to this. So yeah, it looks like the Lyrids are peaking in 2 to 3 days, and so you might be able to spot some of them on April 21st and April 22nd. So 10 to 20 meteors per hour, that's, I mean, if you do the math, that's between 1 and 2 every 6 minutes. So it's, the thing with meteors is they're cool, but they can be difficult to spot. I mean, especially if you're not in a particularly dark sky location, as most of us are not. It can be minutes in between meteors, and a lot of times you don't even know if you saw it because it was so brief and dim. So I actually don't really, and I know this is sacrilegious in a group of space lovers, but I'm actually not a big fan of trying to spot meteors because my vision isn't great, and I'm not wearing my glasses here, but I don't need it for close up. But trying to view the sky through glasses when you're trying to catch things in the periphery of your vision, it's just can be frustrating. But let me see here. Questions. Very interested in these matters. Okay. Old astronauts concerned about returning to this pandemic. Rob Andrew asks that. That question was asked of Jessica by actually, I think both Stephen Colbert and NPR. I think she referred to him as Steve. I wasn't sure if it was Steve Inskeep or a different Steve, or if she got the name wrong. But I'm a little rusty on my NPR, so I didn't immediately pin the voice to the name. I recognized the voice, but I wasn't exactly sure which NPR personality it was. In any case, astronauts are consummate professionals, and they are always going to spin things in a positive light. There's no such thing as a pessimistic astronaut, at least not on camera. The Russians tend to be a little more pragmatic and sometimes curmudgeonly, but astronauts, if asked a question about whether they're concerned, they're going to give very positive spun answers. And so obviously they're glad. I mean, they're glad to see their families again, their loved ones, their friends. And let's see if we can here. Let's just switch to this. They didn't express any concerns about coming back. They're going to be facing the same situation that we all are. And so if they have any concerns, they didn't verbalize that, which is completely to be expected because, it's like if an astronaut is concerned about the safety of launching to space, they're going to be like, I have full confidence in the engineers and the flight team and et cetera, et cetera. Very difficult to get very difficult to get negative feedback from an astronaut, which is both positive and negative, because it's important to maintain a positive outlook regarding space, because it's really hard and there are always setbacks and challenges. And if we focus on the negative, then it can be discouraging or scary, because space is very dangerous. But on the other hand, painting too rosy a picture of everything can get a little tiring and maybe seem a little detached from reality, because reality is not quite as buttoned up as sometimes people like to portray it. Mad Matt mentions or asks if we almost got smacked by a hunk of space rock yesterday. I have no idea. Probably. I mean, there's always something in space flying in our direction, but I don't know if there were any significant asteroids or anything. I mean, well, it wouldn't have, if we did almost get smacked by a hunk of space rock, it would have been a small hunk of space rock. I mean, if it was a major thing, we would have heard of it, like Apophis or whatever. Suarez, as a follow-up to the meteor shower question, so meteor showers happen when the Earth moves through through a region of space. Excuse me, puberty's a killer. Meteor showers happen when the Earth moves through a region of space into which was deposited grains of debris from a passing comet. So it's possible you could see some meteors tonight, but it's going to peak in a couple of days. The rate of meteors is going to be more in 2 nights. Hey, Appleball, good to see you. 1,000 feet. Oh, I was confused. Okay. Mad Matt said 1,000 feet, and I thought he meant that the rock passed 1,000 feet from Earth, and I was like, what? No. that's grazing the ground. But no, he meant that the the rock was 1,000 feet in size, which is actually pretty big. Um, okay, so I've got a calendar behind me. If we look forward to upcoming launches, we've got a couple. So per what has become the norm during this quarantine era, I'll call it, because it seems to be stretching out for an indefinite period of time. Most of the launches that are happening, well, actually all of the launches that have happened, are either in support of the ISS or they are military, because you can't stop the military, and so they're going to get their satellites up there, virus or no virus. So we see here SpaceX is getting ready to launch another Starlink mission on Thursday, April 23rd at 3:16 p.m. Eastern. That's 7:16 p.m. GMT. Do a little math. And then they tweeted on Twitter, because that's where you tweet, that they completed the static fire test of the Falcon 9 that will be launching that mission. The booster that they will be using is a reflight, of course, because they always use reflown boosters for their Starlink missions. Previously, this booster flew... this is a historic booster. Okay. This booster was the one that was used for the first Crew Dragon mission last year, the test flight to the ISS that was unmanned, as well as a RadarSat Constellation mission and a previous Starlink mission. So I guess this will be the fourth launch of the booster. And the fairing was used in the Amos 17 mission last year. So there you go. Reuse at its finest. Additionally, in 5 days, on April 24th at 9:51 p.m. Eastern, 1:51 a.m. GMT, a Soyuz rocket will be launching the Progress MS-14 cargo craft to the ISS. Like I said, ISS support and military launches are really all that's happening right now. There's a lot more on the calendar, but everything's pretty much on hold because of the social distancing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what will be interesting to see is, so in June-July timeframe, there will be another optimal launch opportunity for Mars missions, which is why there are at least 3 Mars missions on the books to launch during that time frame. And now, launch windows for Mars only come around every 2 years. So I imagine that despite the fact that pretty much all launches are on hold right now, they will ensure, both China and the United States, I forget who all is launching. There's at least 3 missions that are launching to Mars. I'm pretty sure that that the launch providers and involved organizations will ensure that those launches get off the ground, because otherwise they have to wait 2 years, which is not ideal. It sucks politically, and it's expensive to mothball the projects and then resurrect them in 2 years. So yeah, I presume that those will lift off in the June-July timeframe. If not, then that will be unfortunate for solar system exploration, because we've got some important missions coming up, particularly the Perseverance rover that's the Mars 2020, which is going to be headed to the red planet that they've been working on for years. Sorry about my voice. I think it's allergies. It's got my system a little out of whack. So those are the only two launches coming up in the near future that are on the calendar. If there are any surprise, launches, I will try to make sure to get them streamed for you. In other news, looking a little farther out, we've got the Crew Dragon DM2 coming up, which is highly anticipated. Thank you, Alejandro, and enjoy your time out, if that actually goes through. Anyway, on May, oh golly, yeah, there we go, May 27th, we have news regarding DM2, which is the manned Crew Dragon mission that SpaceX will be launching. That's been delayed because of not only because of the mishap where the Crew Dragon exploded on the test platform, but also due to COVID and other factors. The DM2 mission's been delayed a little longer than anyone would have liked, but looks like on May 27th it will be happening. Let me there we go, look at that. Yep, so we don't need your audio. Yep, so this will be the first time since 2011 that any humans will have launched from the United States. And NASA's been trumpeting, well, NASA's Jim Bridenstine in particular has been trumpeting this for a long time now. But this is a big deal because this is going to bring human launch capability back to the United States for the first time in almost a decade, since the space shuttles were grounded. And it will be on a SpaceX Falcon 9 and a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule. Of course, the other participant in the commercial crew program is Boeing, whose Starliner capsule famously failed to reach the ISS during their test flight because it got confused about what time it was and thought that it was 11 hours further into its mission, thereby causing its thrusters to fire in all sorts of different directions, trying to correct its orientation and using up its fuel. There were also issues with communicating with the capsule, possibly due to cellular tower interference, which seems weird, but anyway, lots of issues that Boeing is working through. They will probably get there, but it'll be a long and painful process. In the meantime, we can root for SpaceX. So come May 27th, expect to see Astro Doug and Astro Benken. What's his first name? Oh, Bob Benken. And Doug Hurley. There you go. Fly up to the ISS on an American-made commercial rocket and capsule. It'll be very exciting. Anyway, let me switch back over to Earth View. Okay, so let's open it up for questions, which you've been asking anyway, but all right, what do we got here? Starlink proposal is military? Oh, Maria Kutujan asks if the Starlink proposal is military. So Starlink is not military per se. So Starlink is SpaceX's low Earth orbit broadband internet satellite constellation. And it will be serving multiple customers. I mean, both individual civilians like you and me, as well as corporate organizations and governments and militaries. As I understand it, it's planned that there will be blocks of Starlink satellites that are allocated specifically for specific customers. So, for example, the Department of Defense will have basically their own chunk of the Starlink constellation, which belongs to them and which they exclusively use. And so, yes, that is a military component, but Starlink itself is not a military thing. It's SpaceX. But one of their some of their customers will be military or government. Tig Rahoff asks, are the military missions also commercial? No. Military is military. That's sort of by definition not commercial, but some military missions do fly on commercial launch vehicles, like SpaceX's rockets or Rocket Lab. Like there was even a National Reconnaissance Office mission with some tech demos that launched on an Electron rocket a few months back. Earthling John asks. Earthling John says those doors, referring to the doors of that the crew exit when at Pad 39A or whatever at Kennedy Space Center when they're about to launch. He says those doors will open for the crew of a commercial vehicle. How long till they open for a crew of a NASA vehicle? NASA vehicle, of course, would be the SLS. Good question. I guess we shall see. I don't have the latest news on the status of SLS development. I mean, they had their core stage complete announcement a few months ago. But there's a lot more than just the core stage that's needed. It's been muchly delayed, bigly delayed even, and way over budget for a long time. So, maybe a couple years, maybe longer. It depends on how long they get the other systems developed. I wouldn't hold your breath on any of that. Bienvenidos, Transcode, and welcome. Glad to have you from Chile. We enjoy an international audience here, so folks from all over the world are more than welcome to hang out. Let's see, San Diego, Laura Lee Schmalstig. Okay. She asks, how long till we can use Starlink at home? That is a great question. I need to poke around and see if I can find some more up-to-date information on when Starlink will be available for and for whom, because I'm not sure, and I haven't heard any big announcements, but aside from the launches, it's a question mark at this point. Like, for example, I don't know if it may start, like, currently, even before, like, even in the early stages, which we're still in the early stages of getting Starlink satellites off the ground, according to their grand plan, it's still the biggest satellite constellation in existence. It's already the biggest. So I don't know with what capacity it's currently being used. I don't know if they have some sort of beta test customers currently, or that's strange. I can't connect to my chat. Hopefully I'm still streaming. I will refresh the page. Uh-oh. Wow, this is weird. Okay, so there's an issue with YouTube currently. I can't access. Can't access it. Let me try in a different browser, because I've got to be able to manage my stream. It's weird. It's telling me that the page isn't working. You know what? Maybe I'll just close. I'll close Chrome altogether and try relaunching it. Wow. Weird. Okay. Maybe I can... Live control room. Google, YouTube is broken in Chrome. That is very strange. Seems to be working in Firefox, but in Chrome I can't do a thing. Okay, so what do we got? May 27th, holding breath for government-funded vehicles. SpaceX says that Starlink expects to go live before the end of 2020. Microbyte asks when we get to see my new computer. So here, let me see if I can. This will be potentially. All right, let's see here. Oh yes, my purple walls, because that's how it came with the house, and I don't care. So there it is, running smooth as butter. There you go. I need to order some more lights for it because it's not lighty enough, and I also need to look at the cooling because I think the chipset sometimes gets a little overheated. The CPU seems to be fine, but the chipset gets quite hot, which is the not the big chip, but the chips on the motherboard. So yeah, that was brought to you special for Microbyte, VAX 11780. Maria Kutujan asks, do you believe in space competition between countries, since there must be an international space treaty? Or do you believe in cooperation between countries with space missions? I think that ultimately cooperation yields, well, let's take a look at this. If the United States and Russia and the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, had not been in a Cold War, we would not have gone to the moon, which is arguably the greatest technical and inspirational feat of the human race. And that's because it was hugely expensive, and therefore was hugely political. And yeah, so it's an unfortunate facet of reality that money is tied to politics, and money is required to do anything in space. Therefore, where the most money is going to be spent, necessarily there will be politics involved. And where there are politics involved, there will be competition involved, because countries are nationalistic. They're competitive. They're always trying to one-up each other and increase their national pride, etc., etc. So, if not for national competition between the United States and the Soviet Union, we wouldn't have gone to the moon. as for modern space endeavors, the International Space Station, I think, is um, a wonder of the modern world. It is, it was mostly built by the United States, but with a lot of help from international partners. Canada and their robotic arms, and the ESA and their, I don't know, I don't recall if there's a European module, but lots of European astronauts have participated in the assembly, maintenance, and operation and occupation of the space station. There's a Japanese research module, and of course half the station, I mean not half, but a large portion of the station is Russian, our former, rivals. But I believe that we need both, ultimately. We need both competition, because although I personally am not a competitive person, competition makes things happen. Competition drives a lot of people to get things done, and can grease the political skids to make things, to allow things to be funded when there's a sense of competition, whether it's because you are whether it's simply pride driven, or whether there's a sense of mortal threat that if you don't prove yourself to this other country, then they're going to have an advantage over you. But there also needs to be cooperation, because that is the more humane of the characteristics between competition and cooperation. Cooperation is the loftier goal. So ultimately, I think it would be beneficial to move in the direction of more cooperation. For example, it would be, I think, really useful for for relations with China to become more normalized, and for them to, well, maybe, it would be nice if they got their political act together and stopped abusing the human condition. But they're doing all sorts of things in space completely on their own, because they're not part of the ISS. They don't collaborate with other countries on much of anything. They take lots of our money for their products, but I think that if we were able to put our heads together in a collaborative fashion with them, we would be able to accomplish great things, even greater things. All right, let me see. Columbus module, that's right. The Columbus module, Cotton Cat reminded me that the Columbus module on the ISS is European. Bea says 2 days until the Lyriads meteor shower. Talked a little bit about that earlier. Russian components, American components, all made in Taiwan. That's right. Armageddon, Hollywood, I swear. I love movies. I love action movies, sci-fi movies. Not a big fan of drama, but I haven't rewatched Armageddon for many years because it ticks me off so much that they like here's reality, and Armageddon is over here. They're just totally so off the wall with their scientific inaccuracies, and not to mention some of the acting was just horrendous, which sucks because it was a big movie. There were fun aspects to it, but I just can't rewatch it again. Edna Sevilla asks about India regarding international cooperation. India is doing great. ISRO is, they have they've been having a good number of launches. They as a matter of fact, I believe that one of the Mars missions will be launching on a, is it one of the Mars missions or one of the a mission going to a Lagrange point or elsewhere in the solar system. I'm not sure. In any case, ISRO's doing great things, and I hope they keep at it. And they have some involvement with the ISS. Not huge, but yeah, I'm rooting for ISRO for sure. Coag Music, good to see you. Always a pleasure. Everybody at Coag Music should go visit his channel, subscribe. A lot of the music you hear on Raw Space is of his composition. Great stuff, and he makes sure he stridently defends the copyright-free status of his music, which is a godsend to content creators because it's great music and it's free. I'm actually a Patreon of his, so all y'all should go support him as well. Not on my account, but in any case. TLI72 asks if I'm going to watch Crew Dragon Demo 2. Yes, I'll definitely be watching it. I'll be streaming it. Along with all the other launches I can get my hands on. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. Dale Duncan regarding Armageddon says that it was wrong, but it was a good watch for an evening. I can suspend my disbelief. I have a powerful suspension of disbelief when I choose to. So, yes, I can enjoy a movie even if it's grossly inaccurate. I'm not a total Nazi when it comes to, insisting that movies are whatever. Like Gravity. Gravity was a great movie, but had some major scientific flaws. It's best not to dwell on those because, the movie's there to be entertaining, not to irritate your scientific OCD. Bea asks if I'm going to stay up to watch the Lyria's meteor shower. No, I don't think so. I encourage you to do so, but I don't think I'll be doing it. Although, actually, what I might do is, and that's, now that you reminded me, what I might do is I might set up my camera to take an all night long series of time lapse of long exposures of the night sky, so that not only can I use that in a how to make star trails video that I want to put together, but also maybe catch some meteor streaks. Anywho, I think we've covered just about everything we can today. So I'll go ahead and wrap this up. I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this new SpaceWeek Live format is useful. I do like interacting directly with the viewers, and I know it's a little less polished, well, significantly less polished and organized as the old edited SpaceWeek videos, but as I've mentioned before, it wasn't possible for me to continue doing those because of the other obligations I have, what with my just time constraints. But I'm glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for the questions. And make sure to go visit Lab Padre, who provide 24/7 live views of the Starship development or undevelopment process in Boca Chica, Texas. Oh, someone earlier asked, I don't even remember who it was, somebody asked if I was ever going to visit Boca Chica. And it depends on a couple of things. It depends on how the channel goes. If the channel continues to grow, growth has been pretty anemic lately because I haven't been producing much content. Shame on me. But also whether I can get set up for live remote streaming, because if I go to Boca Chica or to Kennedy Space Center or wherever else, Wallops or even Vandenberg, that would be a long ways, but because I'm in North Carolina. But anywho, if I travel to any launch location, it's going to be for the purpose of live streaming it. So I would want to get set up for live streaming. And yeah. So anyway, thank you all for coming, and I will see if I can gracefully invoke this outro without screwing things up. I also noticed the music isn't playing, which is weird. It like stopped, so I apologize for that. Small technical issues. All right. Farewell for now. Keep it raw, folks.